This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Baglin.
It's time to hit the water. Summer boating season is upon us now. Whether you fish, ski, tube, canoe, kayak, wakeboard, or just soak up the sun, this show is for you. We go inside outdoors with boating experts from the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife who have tips and insights on how to keep it a safe summer and how to keep the good times afloat. Summer boating, what you need to know before you go. Next on Kentucky Afield Radio.
You know our patch, but there are some things about the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife you may have never dreamed. You've seen shells in a stream bed. In reality, that's aquatic life and nature's own filtration for drinking water. In decline nationally, but on the rebound thanks to science, we've developed clean water from clear thinking. And you thought we were just fishing and hunting. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. There's more to us when you look beneath the surface. Hunt more at fw.ky.gov.
Maybe I won't, but I could.
Maybe.
Yes, I won't.
Well, on second thought,
Yeah.
No.
yes.
Arguing with yourself about life jackets? Well, the answer is yes. The answer has always been yes.
What the heck? Yes.
Could be you've just been lucky till now.
Yes.
This boating season, Kentucky conservation officers remind you, your life jackets got your back. It's Charlie Baglin on Kentucky Afield Radio. Welcome to the show. It is summer, and for fun, we just add water. We're talking about summer boating season, and in the studio is Conservation Officer Travis Neal. He patrols primarily on Lake Cumberland, also Boating Education Coordinator with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, Zach Campbell. Gents, what's new?
Well, as far as education is concerned, we've got a brand new Kentucky Boat Safe app that you can download on your smartphones, whether you have an Android or Apple. It could be a boater's best friend. There's everything you could possibly want on it as far as Kentucky boating is concerned.
So, boating, there's an app for that.
Yeah.
You've got it on your phone. What's it called?
It's Kentucky Boat Safe app.
Kentucky Boat Safe app.
You can also find it on our website, fw.ky.gov. This is all boating, all Kentucky boating. So laws, regulations, some fun stuff like a blood alcohol estimator. It's got a GPS locator on it. So basically, if you're on the water and you want to find a marina, it's got a Find a Marina button where you can get a list of marinas in your area, and it will automatically pull up a list of marinas that are closest to you. So, and then you can click on that marina, and it's a direct link to their website and a live link to their phone number, so you can get help if you need it.
I'm guessing there's a GPS mapping of some sort built into that.
Yeah, it's also got a text a friend afloat plan or text a friend for help. So basically you can have a list of friends. You can add as many on there as you want, but if you get in trouble out there before you go out on the water, you can text your friend your float plan, where you plan to go, what time you're going to go, what time you're going to get back. But say you're on your trip for the day and you get into trouble, you can text your friend again, and it will give them an actual link to coordinates and a GPS locator to find you if you do get into trouble.
Yeah, that works.
Makes it easier to find the individual if we know exactly where they are. And a lot of times when they're from out of state, they're not going to know where they are.
That's true.
So.
Perfect, yeah.
I'll tell you this much. Lake Cumberland's, that's a big body of water. You get going around the coves, and you get turned around, and you're back, and you may not know where you are. I know I get lost every time I'm out there. It all starts looking the same. If you're lost out there, will it help you find your way back?
Oh, definitely. And it also has another very important thing. Say you're out there and you get in trouble. There's also a button that you can push, and it gets you directly in touch with Kentucky State Police Dispatch, which will put you in touch with our guys that are on the water, like Officer Neal, so that they can get to you faster, because they're already out there, and you can, with the touch of a button, get law enforcement to help you out. It's also called Report a Reckless Operator. If you see someone operating their boat not safely, and we would like to get that taken care of so everyone can be out there and have a good time and be safe.
So this isn't limited, of course, to Cumberland. You could be on the Clarks River, Ohio River, Kentucky River.
Yes, sir, and it's got every marina in the state on here. So wherever even if you're in your car and you want to see a marina that's close that you might want to go talk with the owners and to get a rental, or it works just the same there. So you can find any marina, anything you need.
How about boating access? Let's say I want to go to the Green River, but I have no clue where to put it. Is this going to help me find a spot?
It can not access sites, but it can direct you to the marinas on the Green River.
Well,
and
it's essentially the same, yeah.
Yeah. So, and most marinas pretty much all marinas have a boat ramp. So, yeah, definitely. Along with all the laws and regulations, it has a safety equipment checklist. At the touch of button, see all the required safety equipment by law that you need to have on your boat, so that, one, that you're safe, and then also so that you don't get a ticket from our law enforcement.
Are the equipment needs requirements different boat to boat?
It does vary according to length. We normally educate pertaining to a 16-feet vessel, and the basic requirements on a 16-feet vessel is going to be life jackets for everybody on board. You're going to have a fire extinguisher. You got to have a sounding device, which could be a horn or a whistle, registration, and a throw cushion. Now, boats smaller than that are not required to have the sounding device or the throw cushion, but they're still required to have life jacket for everybody on board, registration, and a fire extinguisher. Basically, the way we enforce fire extinguisher law is that if you have any combustible liquids on a vessel with you, you have to have a fire extinguisher.
So gasoline tank. Lantern.
A lantern. Anything that would have a combustible liquid has to have a fire extinguisher. And it's also important that you check and make sure that they're in good serviceable condition. A lot of times life jackets we come in contact with, the buckles are missing, they have rips, just something that you wouldn't want to put a kid in or a loved one in and take that chance on it not properly working.
So you got the checklist of these types of things, Zach Campbell.
Yes,
they're
sir.
on your app.
Yes, sir. And also, a lot of times your fishermen and waterfowl hunters forget that they're boaters. And say you're out there fishing and you've got this boating app and you want to know, am I keeping a short fish? It does also have a direct link to our Fish and Wildlife website and also our Fish and Wildlife Twitter page. So you're out there, you have the information for boating. You can automatically, if you need more than just the boating information, you can get to our guides, our fishing guides, and our hunting guides also from there.
So you can find out what license you need, the fishing regulations.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. And it's free.
Yeah, definitely.
App Store.
Yes.
Android Marketplace. And what's it called again?
Kentucky Boat Safe app. We have posters that we've distributed at the local marinas, county clerk's office, so that if you're going to go and get your registration, you can see the poster, and you can also just scan the QR code. One QR code works for both Apple and Android, and you can get it that way also.
I'm looking it up right now. Kentucky Boat Safe. And there it is. And I can get it for nothing.
Another thing to touch on, life jacket is legal if it's Coast Guard approved. It's got to be readily accessible, like you mentioned. But when you're talking about the condition, it has to be in good working condition also to be legal. Yeah. So if you do have a life jacket for every person on board, but they're tore up and ripped, they are no longer Coast Guard approved and no longer legal.
Or if it doesn't fit.
Yes, exactly.
And that goes into also another term in the regulation that says that it has to be readily accessible. And that means that you have to be able to get it in a timely manner. If you've got it in a locked compartment somewhere that you're going to have to take a key, reach down, open it, get your life jacket, and then put it on, that's not that's not a good use of the life jacket. It needs to be out to where if something happens, you can get it, and preferably it be on.
So, take your time to look at that. Do all the buckles snap? Does it fit?
It just, like you said, does it fit? I remember I was riding along with Officer Neal on Cumberland about 2 years ago, and it's got to fit. He pulled over a boat, and they all had their life jackets. The only problem was that they were all adults, and the life jackets were for people under 80 pounds, and there wasn't one person on there definitely under 80 pounds. So that's not legal. They have to have jackets that actually fit. So
we can talk all day about life jackets, although we've got a lot on the list, but people don't like life jackets. I have a feeling that it ranks right up there with flossing. If I can get by without doing it, I'm going to not do it. What attitude do you see on the waters you patrol, Officer Neal?
I think most people have the idea that it's uncomfortable and bulky, and it kind of hinders their ability to have fun.
Yeah.
But with all the new type of life jackets that's came out, you can probably go to one of your local sporting goods store and find one that you would feel comfortable going to the water with.
Summer boating season is the focus this hour, and more after the break. Safety never looked so good. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Back on Kentucky Afield Radio, I'm Charlie Baglin. Boating Officer Travis Neal is in the studio with me, along with Zach Campbell, who heads the Boating Education Program. Your life jacket's got your back, the saying goes, but it's optional for adults if you're operating a boat. But for kids, it's the law if the boat is moving, right?
Also, with that being said, a lot of times we'll get kids that are under the age of 12 years old, and their parents may have forgotten to put a life jacket on their child, or the child don't like to wear it, so they kind of give in to the child and let them take it off. But under Kentucky law, it's mandatory that anybody under the age of 12 years old, while the boat is underway, has to wear that life jacket at all times.
It ranks up there with a seatbelt.
It does.
And we do have a life jacket loaner program. All our officers have 2 youth life jackets on each of their vessels. That doesn't mean that we're giving those life jackets away, and it doesn't mean that the parents didn't break the law. It's just gives our officers the chance to loan that life jacket to the offenders, and so that the kids are safe and that they don't have to terminate their trip. Because basically they can't, if they don't have life jackets for kids that they stopped, they're in violation. They can't just turn them loose. The kids still don't have life jackets. So if you take your family out and your kids are under 12 and they don't have life jackets, and you get stopped, that you're pretty much essentially ending your trip that day.
You've got to go idle speed all the way back to the marina.
Yes, and buy life jackets to be legal. So this way we give those life jackets to the officers to loan out. Then they can let them enjoy their time, and they return the life jacket at the marina. Doesn't mean they don't get a ticket still.
Yeah.
It's still the law, but we're just trying to keep everybody safe.
You are to be congratulated, Zach Campbell, in your Kentucky Boater Education Program. There was an international meeting in April, the International Boating and Water Safety Summit, and for your media efforts for radio, you took first place.
March and April, the end of March to April 2nd, and I wouldn't say I took place. The most recognizable voice on any of those PSAs is going to be yours, Charlie.
I may have had a hand in it. But
and a bunch of other employees, Fish and Wildlife employees, all put in.
There were several
effort
that pitched in to make it good, but it's your program, and you deserve the accolades.
Well, I appreciate that, even though I disagree with you. But we've actually won as a team 3 out of the last 4 years, and it's the International Water Safety Boating Summit. It's held in different locations throughout the U.S. Every year. It's got representatives from every state, usually a boating law administrator and the boating education coordinator. But then it's multiple countries: Puerto Rico, Canada.
Did you say Australia was there?
Australia's Japan, Guam, always. So everyone gets together. It's the best boating minds worldwide that get together and for about a week and share everything that we have in our state or country and try and learn from each other. But yes, there is a media competition which has everything from radio PSAs to posters, handouts, electronic or online educational resources. So, and the whole point of the contest isn't to show off what you've done. It's so that we can all get together and look at some of the ideas, some of the good things that's worked, and share and bring back to our states and just reproduce.
Yeah. I have seen in years past some of the work that your program has produced and seen where other states have copied it to a degree.
Definitely.
You took first place, and it's not just, it's good enough to say, hey, won first place in the world. It's who you beat. The second place was the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and coming in third, you also beat the entire Canadian Safe Boating Council. That ain't bad, Zach Campbell. I mean, that is pretty good.
It's a great product. The most impressive thing about it is that we do everything in-house. It's just us here. No funding, no outside funding. It's just our ideas and our work. So it's something to be proud of.
But life jackets still, it seems to me, if life jackets are that important, why don't you just make it a law?
I have mixed emotions on that. My job is to try to get people to wear life jackets, but I also don't want to impede on people's freedoms to make their own choices. That's my personal opinion. But I'm torn. I'm right in the middle. I don't know. I think it's the law to wear seatbelts. Why would it not be the law to wear life jackets? At least while you're underway.
Right, at least while you're underway. There are some things, I'd made a list, things that we could almost make this a game show. Things I would rather do than wear a life jacket. Would you rather run with scissors or floss? How about ironing? Would you rather wear a life jacket or have to iron your clothes?
Definitely wear a life jacket.
Definitely.
Okay. Mismatched socks. If you get up late, do you put on clean underwear or would you wear a life jacket? Which is more important? Which is easier?
With my job, I mean, they're probably going to be about the same.
How about this, having to meet your girlfriend's family?
My socks don't match right now, honestly. But
things I would rather do than wear a life jacket. Have to sit down and look at your family's photo album.
I would wear the life jacket.
I would wear a life jacket.
I would also.
How about singing? Here's another church reference. Would you rather sing all the verses to a long church hymn or wear a life jacket? You got like a dozen verses, or you can just sing 2 and that's enough, or wear a life jacket.
Life jacket.
I'd go life jacket. We were talking about underwear. I mean, in my job, it's the same. I mean, I put it on the same as I would anything else. I mean, if I put my gun on, my life jacket's on with it.
And that hits on a good point. Our officers, Officer Neal, they're wearing the newer technologies like you were talking about. They're wearing inflatable life jackets, which don't encumber your movement whatsoever. I've been on the boat, and I get in the car, and I forget that I have the life jacket on, and I say, oh, I got to take this off. They're really good, and we always talk about fishermen and waterfowl hunters and people with those really expensive boats. I know fishermen that's put thousands of dollars just into their fishing rods, and why not buy something that could save your life? I've said that many times in the past, but it's easy.
Well, you're government, and it's easy for you to say that.
Yeah.
But the fact remains is they're hot. They're expensive. They ruin your tan.
Not the inflatables.
Not the inflatables.
And I think a lot of people don't feel like they need it when they're not moving because they can reach and grab it or somebody can throw it to them. If you're by yourself and you fall out of the boat and you hit your head, it knocks you unconscious, you're not going to be able to swim. So that life jacket's going to be swimming for you.
Things I would rather do than wear a life jacket is learn the hard way. That's a pretty good choice. I don't need one of those things. I know how to swim. I'll just learn the hard way. I'd rather learn the hard way than to do it right the first time. How about that?
Well, you just brought up a good point. This past weekend, we had a fatality on Kentucky Lake. Just like me and my buddy go out fishing together. It's some of my most enjoyable times is going out and fishing. And the owner of the boat was operating the trolling motor. No big time collision, no giant accident, just simply fell out of the back of the boat operating the trolling motor. And his friend up front had a physical disability and couldn't swim to help him, but it's a matter of seconds. He fell in the water, wasn't wearing his life jacket, came up for a second. His friend threw him a life jacket. He went back under and never came back up. So it's as simple as that. Sometimes you got to learn the hard way, and that's not what we want. We want people to go out and have a good time and to not even have to worry about stuff like that. Simple as just wearing a life jacket. No more difficult than having matching socks. You put it on, his whole life it could have changed everything.
Tell me about situations, Officer Neal, that you have seen on Lake Cumberland. You don't have to mention names, but where people may have learned the hard way.
When I first started on Lake Cumberland, we had a high school student, very talented swimmer. He fell from the top of a houseboat, hit his head on another boat, and went down. It didn't matter how well he could swim. When you're unconscious, you're not going to be able to swim. If he'd had that life jacket on, he'd probably still be here today.
The odds of that happening got to be 1 in a million. But it happened.
It happened.
It seems like you never know when you're going to need it. And that's why you wear it, in case you get a fish hook in your eye, or you fall in, or you're choking. You think you're swimming up, but you're swimming down. The heat has gotten to you. Maybe you've been drinking. There could be any number of reasons. You're trying to save someone in the process, and they're fighting you. You need all the help you can get just to keep your head above water and breathe.
That's correct.
People take that breathing, it's really overrated, isn't it? Another example, if you would, please. We
had a gentleman, he had heart-related issues, possibly had a mild heart attack. He fell off the back of the boat, didn't have his life jacket on. He got tangled up in a rope and then resurfaced, but he would have probably never went under and stayed under as long had he had his life jacket on. And possibly we could have overcome the heart issue. Put both of them together and it makes for a really bad day.
We are on the air to make boating better. Fishing report is just ahead. Is there a speed limit on the water? Think about it. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. You are listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. My name's Charlie Baglin, and we're into our second half hour now. And if you like to boat, or if you know a family who does, or if you have a buddy who does, and you'd like to share this show with them, it's easy to make that happen. There are 3 ways. One, it's a podcast. Just go to iTunes, look for it. Kentucky Afield Radio should pop right up. Also, myhuntingandfishing.com is the website. Plus, you can go to YouTube and find the Kentucky Afield Radio channel. We'll have more on water safety when we come back in this half hour. Time now for our fishing report.
This is Jeff Crosby with the Central District Fishing Report. Black bass are toward the end of their spawn. However, they can still be caught at many of our area lakes. Try some early morning buzzbaits, poppers, or floating jerkbaits to catch a few fish. Additionally, a lot of these bass are moving offshore and can be caught using crankbaits, tube jigs, or swim jigs. Still receiving some good reports of a few crappie being caught at many of our area lakes toward the end of their spawn also. Many of these fish can be caught offshore a little bit. Find a good round point. Use live minnows or crappie tubes fished in about 7 to 10 foot of water to catch a few of these fish. And finally, don't forget about our FINS program. Check out the department's website at fw.ky.gov for a complete listing of FINS lakes in your area. So grab a pole and hope to see you on the water.
At Kentucky and Barkley Lakes, the things that are hot right now is bass have spawned. Still find a few bass flipping around bushes, fishing around docks with a spinnerbait. Some of the bigger bass have already moved out to the ledges. Still some crappie being caught up shallow around the bushes, and also spider rigging and trolling out on the secondary drops. Right now, bluegill and red ear still pretty hot. They're up spawning. You know, the red ear, they spawn out a little bit deeper, so try fishing a little bit deeper. If you start catching some bluegill, move out a little deeper and try for the red ear. The red ear seem to bite more on like a split shot rig where you're dragging the bait along the bottom, where your bluegill are going to bite more from a bait spinning underneath the bobber. A lot of catfish being caught up shallow. Night crawlers, your better bait there. Well, this is Paul Reister, and I hope you find a good day to go fishing.
Hi, this is John Williams with the Fishery Report for Southeast Kentucky. At Lake Cumberland, the striped bass fishing has remained good. They're still being caught mid-creek to mouth on live bait, 15 to 20 feet deep. Seen a few walleye at Lake Cumberland in shallow water, probably less than 10 feet on mackerel rigs. At Cedar Creek Lake, our grill clerk reports bass fishing has been excellent on lipless crankbaits and also jigs in shallow water, 2 to 4 feet deep around structure. Crappie's been good on minnows and jigs. Also some catfish being picked up on stink baits around points. Bluegill's been good. They're in shallow water. Wax worms and crickets seem to be the ticket there, and also a few trout being picked up on inline spinners and live bait. Elsewhere in the district, we're stocking trout this week in the Daniel Boone National Forest streams, Cane Creek, War Fork, and Bark Camp. So good luck. Get out and enjoy the weather.
B-U-I. It doesn't spell buoy. Or does it? B-U-I. Maybe it does. Nonetheless, more on Kentucky's boating after the break.
Did you grab the mayonnaise?
We've got to meet Bob and Cindy at the little store to buy some lunch stuff. Where's John?
He said he left something in his room. He's coming. Did you grab the mayonnaise?
What do you think? Ham, chips? I put that mustard we like in the cooler.
Did you grab the mayonnaise? Oh, here he comes.
Good. He grabbed his life jacket. I should have remembered that.
Did you grab the mayonnaise?
Cupcakes. I want those yellow cupcakes.
Tell your phone.
Boaters are busy, on and off the water. That's why Kentucky conservation officers remind you, your life jacket's got your back. Charlie Baglan back on Kentucky Afield Radio in our second half hour now, and everything we have been talking about boating-wise is spelled out, actually, in diagrams and in print and other handy information in the Kentucky Fishing and Boating Guide. It's available free online. Just Google it, and everywhere you buy your fishing license. And here's something in the guide I found surprising. Half of boating accidents are simply chalked up to falls overboard.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, the majority of it's going to be around the ramp or a marina where those happen.
Yeah, most fatalities happen 10 feet from safety, and safety may be your boat out in the middle of the lake or right next to the dock.
So you can learn the hard way, or you can just wear your life jacket and know your life jacket's got your back.
There is a few laws that mandate that you do wear a life jacket. One would be operating a PWC, a personal watercraft, jet ski, sea-doo, something like that. If you're operating one of those, you have to have a life jacket on. Well, another instance would be if you were being pulled on a tube or ski.
Yeah.
At that point, you have to have a life jacket on.
If you're being towed in any fashion, let's say your Sea-Doo ran out of gas, and suddenly it's being towed, pulled along, you have to wear one even then, right?
Yes, that would be correct. And then, like we talked about earlier, any person under the age of 12 has to have one on while the boat is underway. And basically, it doesn't matter if you're slowly idling or if you're going wide open. If the boat's moving, the child has to have the life jacket on.
Since the Safe Boating Act of 1998, Zach Campbell, when boater education became mandatory, has there been an improvement in accidents and in safety and life jacket wear rates and such as that?
There has nationally, and with Coast Guard records, it's declining. Fatalities are declining for sure, and in the recent years. And now, is that because of more people are wearing their life jackets, or is it because technology has improved as far as boats, as far as safety equipment altogether? It's hard really to measure it, but as a state, we're dropping for sure. Within the last 10 years, we had a year where we had 26 fatalities as a state.
Smoke.
The past 5 years, we haven't gone above 9. It's fluctuated, and it does fluctuate. This year so far, we have 3. It's really hard to tell and hard to measure. There's a lot of things that go into it that you don't think about, like the cost of fuel, less people on the water, less possibility for accidents. So I have to throw in weather, too. Drought, which we don't have to worry about, really affects some of your western and southern states. As far as Texas, their fatalities will go way down because they won't have any water. So we really want it to be life jacket wear, and that does play a big part in it. It's just hard to measure that, but it is trending downward.
We were talking before we actually went on the air, gentlemen, that it's more the little things, not the big accidents where problems are going to happen. Little things, not the T-boning someone at high speed?
Take, for instance, just sliding down a slide on the back of a houseboat. You've done it all day long, and then you go inside, somebody pulls a boat, and under the slide, and you think, I'm going to do it for the 100th time today. I'm not thinking there's a boat there. You come down the slide, and you hit the side of the boat, you're knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
You went from sliding down a slide to the worst possible scenario.
And it is the little things, because everyone says, I'm not going to get in an accident. I'm a good driver. I'm an attentive operator. But then we talk about it, I'm a great swimmer. But we talk about people falling overboard. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good walker. or I know how to stand.
Yeah.
But the worst things happen. You have to be prepared for things as small as that. That argument doesn't really work with me as far as I'm a good driver, I'm a good operator.
That makes sense. It doesn't apply to me. I'm a good swimmer, it just doesn't apply. The law of large numbers is going to bear out that it doesn't apply to you, and chances are it won't ever. You can live your life being reckless, and you'll live through it. But it's those little numbers. You never know when you're going to be one. You never know when you're just going to wind up being a statistic. Speaking of stats, here's something I wrote in a commercial, and boy, we're going back around 2004 or so for this, I remember, that talks about boating safety from a different perspective. See if this makes any sense to you. Once, there were two rabbits. One had a boat, the other had some beer. So the rabbits decided to share. So away the rabbits went. Because beer is made with hops, too many rabbits get the wrong idea about boating and drinking. And instead of becoming stew, they become a statistic. It's sad when this happens to rabbits. It's even worse when it happens to people. Food for thought, I guess.
Of course, the drinking, you're going to take extra risk that you probably wouldn't take had you not been drinking. And if you're drinking, you may be doing everything the way you should, but someone else, they may not see you or something. So your reaction time to that other person's actions are going to be somewhat slowed down. So you might not avoid an accident that you possibly could have if you'd left the alcohol at home.
There are some factors that are involved, such as the motion of the ocean and the heat, that will compound the fun and excitement of boating. I would say the sun stress would be among them.
And you get dehydrated out there, and the effect of the alcohol is more intense on you. And then another thing that we can point out is that drinking and driving's illegal and horrible on the roadways in a car, but you actually have more defined navigation lanes, signals to tell you when to go, when to stop. Out on the water, your reaction time has to be that much faster because it's difficult to navigate when you're totally sober. So it's a matter of just preparing for the worst and being responsible, but still having a good time.
Is there a speed limit on the water?
There is not. The department regulates speed by motor restriction. There'll be some lakes that have a restriction of 10 horsepower or less, or idle speed, or something of that nature, trolling motor only. But on Lake Cumberland, the lake that I work, there is no speed limit.
I saw a Fish and Wildlife news release this spring that talked about several of the lakes now going on to where they originally had a 10 horsepower limit. Now any size boat, any size motor, to say, that could go onto that water, but they have to operate at idle speed, whereas the 10 horsepower or lower can go any speed. So if you put a big boat out there, and that thing can fly, how fast will your boat go when you're in hot pursuit?
It'll range from 50 to 55, depending on how I trim it up, but there's other boats that we have that will travel faster than that. But some of the boats we're dealing with, they can go up to 200.
I grew up in Carrollton, Kentucky, which isn't far from Madison, Indiana, and they have the hydroplane races there every summer. And those boats would fly, but when they lost control, they were tumbling just as if they were on concrete. Is that the same with a bass boat on Lake Maze?
Bass boats, I mean, there's some can range over 100 miles an hour. I can't imagine hitting the water doing that type of speed. For one, your life jacket's probably not going to stay on you. We had an instance like that a couple of years ago during the poker run. They were running between 100 and 115, and it ripped the life jacket completely off of them. So I would assume that would be equivalent to hitting concrete if I was to guess.
I'd made a note here, and this is for anybody drinking, boating, thinking about going boating, just curious of how this is approached in the law. Any person who operates a vessel on Kentucky waters is considered to have given consent to test or tests. This is a legal speak out of Frankfurt, to determine his alcohol concentration or the presence of any other drugs. Now, the test shall be administered at the direction of a law enforcement officer such as you, Officer Neal, who has probable cause. Define probable cause.
Probable cause is used to determine whether we have enough information to charge someone with drinking alcohol and operating the vessel. It's the same as it would be with a car. If you pull over a car and they roll their window down and you smell a large odor of alcohol, that may be one step of the probable cause. Two would be they have slurred speech or they have glossy eyes. Just something that doesn't sit right with the officer that he would presume that they were intoxicated and they were operating the vehicle or the vessel. So
probable cause is a legal term.
It is.
And it's not to be confused with is likely to happen, or in most cases you're going to see this is probable cause, but you actually have to witness. I liken it to, say, New Year's Eve, and you have the police out doing roadblocks. They didn't see you swerve. They didn't see you drive over the center line. Didn't see any of this stuff. It's this block. They're checking everybody simply because of the likelihood that it's a huge holiday. You might have had a little too much to drink. Maybe, maybe not. Could you say, well, I know there's a big party over in a certain cove, or this marina's having a big gala for whatever the purpose is. Does that serve as probable cause to check any and all?
No, it wouldn't. We would actually have to see them violate some sort of Kentucky law. A lot of times when we pull over a boat, it's not going to be because we think they're drinking. It's going to be because that person is drinking. He's letting an occupant ride in a dangerous position. He may have a child under the age of 12 without a life jacket. He may have expired registration. We're looking for things that, the average boater would take care of before they got to the lake, and they would be responsible enough to keep doing while they were on the lake. Once you put alcohol in it, they don't pay close attention as they would for somebody that's not been drinking. And at that point, we stop them for the other violation and find out, they have consumed alcohol. So that's going to be our probable cause. It's going to be an actual violation most of the time. We're not going to assume that anybody's intoxicated.
Summer boating is the topic, what you need to know before you go. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Back with our final few minutes on boating here on Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglin. In the studio from the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, who heads the boater education program there, Zach Campbell, and also one of dozens of conservation officers who patrol Kentucky's lakes and rivers, Travis Neal. And one thing I suggest if you're going out on the water, polarized sunglasses. Great for helping you see down into the water, maybe avoid some potential hazards.
You're going to have debris that is flushed in from the spring rains. I've seen refrigerators. I've seen huge, complete trees floating on the water.
Right.
It's important, I feel, that in conjunction with wearing your life jacket, it's also very useful to use the kill switch lanyard. What this does is, if you get thrown out of the boat as an operator, if it's attached to your body, this lanyard is going to pull from the vessel and it's going to kill the engine. So you don't have to worry about your boat continuing to go on down the lake while you're thrown out. And also,
they have those on the treadmills at my YMCA. It's the same thing. So if you get thrown off, at least your boat isn't going to go over.
That's correct. And also, with just the torque of the engine on outboards and inboards, they naturally, if you're not a hold of the steering wheel, the torque of the propeller can cause that boat or that vessel to go in a circling motion. So if you're thrown out and it's locked hard to the right, the steering wheel is, it's just going to make a large circle. But there's a good chance that circle may come in your path.
Yeah.
With that lanyard on, you're thrown out of the boat, it's killed that engine. You don't have to worry about that boat circling and coming back on top of you.
This presumes that you're boating alone, or that if there's somebody left in the boat, they didn't get thrown out too.
That's correct.
And if there are more people still in the boat, that they know how to stop the boat and control it.
Depending on the speed, though, they may not have that chance.
Yeah.
If you hit a log and you throw yourself out, odds are they're just trying to catch their balance themselves. They're not thinking about grabbing hold of the steering wheel or the throttle on the engine. You may be able to swim, or you may have your life jacket on and not go under the water, but then how are you going to stop your boat if it gets in that circle of death, as we call it?
I want my boat nearby to climb back up onto rather than a mile downstream.
We're on top of you.
Yeah.
It's now you mentioned the circle of death, and it is common. It's not like we're just talking about this like it could happen. It's nationwide, and I'm all about having fun, and I don't want to get too serious as far as boating, but it's called the circle of death because this happens. It happens in states nationwide every year.
I found a misprint in the guide. I found a misprint in the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Boating Fishing Guide. Kentucky law prohibits boats from operating within restricted areas as posted above navigation, power generating, flood control dams. And the misprint says here, and I've underlined it, no fish is worth risking your life for. Now, you know better than that, don't you, Zach?
I do enjoy fishing, and I'm close to agreeing with you, but not completely. But people will get too close to dams to get that fish. You know, that they have that. It's worth everything.
There's a sauger there, and it's got my name on it. You know, throw caution to the wind and go for it.
Yeah.
The Book of Baglin. Okay, so it's not a misprint. I was wrong. No fish is worth risking your life for. Boating safety classes, big part of your job, I know.
Yeah.
And who do these apply to? Where do you take them? What do they cost? A whole bit.
12 to 17 in the state of Kentucky operate the vessel. They have to have a Kentucky Boater Education Blue Card. And
so that's right at the jet ski age. 12 to 17.
That's correct.
So whatever boat it may be, bass boat.
Yes, sir.
If it's motorized.
If it's motorized, over 10 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
Under 10 horsepower, it's not required, but I would suggest that they take it.
Yeah.
But this card is going to enable that person from 12 to 17 to operate that vessel by themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a step up.
So you don't need to have the adult supervisor right there over you, looking over your shoulder.
And we suggested that's just the law in Kentucky. It's more strict and less strict in other states, but nationwide, and as an agency here in Kentucky, we suggest that everybody take the boating education class. I've had people in the classroom that are 70 and they've been boating most of their life. There's always something that you can learn from these classes. They're great classes. You can take them two ways. You can either take them online or in person. The online option is 24/7 all year long. The in-person classes, we offer them May through July. It'd be the third Saturday of every month. You can register for those classes. You actually have to, if you want to take the in-person class taught by one of our officers, you have to register through the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife website.
fw.ky.gov.
Yes, and underneath boater education. So you go down there, and there's also a link to both online classes. The only difference is the in-person class is free, but you may have to travel. We offer them in multiple places throughout the state. There'll be one, like I said, the third Saturday of each month in each law enforcement district. So they're close enough, but you still may have to drive a little bit. It's a 5 to 7 hour class, but the online classes are just as good. They are approved by Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. You get the same exact card that you would get in person. The only problem with the online classes is they do cost around $29-30, and that's just because it's an outside company that is approved by Kentucky Fish and Wildlife and the National Association of Boating Law Administrators to teach the course. And the great thing about those online classes is that you can run through the course material and you only pay once you've taken the test. So if you just want to use it as a study guide also, I'd advise going on there and on our website, like I said, and you can look at your online option and then register or look at the schedule as far as what in-person officer-taught classes are coming up in the future.
Do either of you text and drive?
No, sir.
Still don't?
No.
Text and boat, text and fish? Yeah?
Yeah, text and fish,
okay.
Usually pictures.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right, well, have a safe summer. Remember, your life jacket's got your back. Thanks a million, y'all.
Thanks a lot, Charlie.
It's been a good show. That website again is fw.ky.gov. That's the Fish and Wildlife website. Just click the boating tab. You'll see it there, and you'll like what you find underneath. If you're heading out this weekend, skipper, don't skip the life jackets. We're out of time. And this is Charlie Baglin inviting you to join us in a week. And we'll go inside outdoors again, right here on Kentucky Afield Radio.